In this Ohio hospital, death came disguised as mercy. Dr. William Husel didn't need a scalpel or a gun, just a syringe and a lie. Comfort care, he called it. The families believed him. The nurses trusted him. And by the time they realized the truth, over 400 patients were dead from doses strong enough to kill a horse. For nearly 20 years, Husel played God in the ICU. Ordering lethal injections for patients with treatable conditions. Targeting the elderly, the uninsured, the ones who wouldn't be missed. And the hospital? They paid him bonuses for efficiency, because dead patients saved them $15,000 each. This isn't a medical drama. It's America's worst serial killer case, and the system that let him get away with it for decades. William Husel didn't look like a killer. In his pressed white coat and polished shoes, he was the picture of medical professionalism. The kind of doctor who remembered nurses' birthdays, who brought donuts for night shifts, who volunteered to cover the ICU when others called out sick. That's how he got away with it for 17 years, by being the last person anyone suspected. It started small. A little extra here, a higher dose there. Patients who should have recovered. Didn't. But in a busy ICU, death wasn't unusual, it was expected. And Husel? He made sure each case looked like compassionate care. A terminal cancer patient in pain. A frail elder with no quality of life. The kind of cases where families were too grief-stricken to question the details. By year 5, the pattern was clear. Husel was prescribing doses that defied medical logic, 1,000 micrograms of fentanyl for a 90-pound woman with a urinary tract infection. Enough to kill an elephant. But when pharmacists raised alarms, administrators shrugged. He's our top man, they said. Trust his judgment. And that was the genius of it. Husel didn't need to hide. He worked in plain sight, exploiting the system's blind spots, the night shifts with skeleton crews, the overworked nurses who didn't double-check doses, the families who mistook his cold efficiency for kindness. Predators don't always snarl. Sometimes they wear stethoscopes and ask about your kids. Sarah Smith had been a nurse for 12 years. She'd coded patients, held hands with grieving families, worked double shifts without complaint. But what she saw in 2018? That was different. Because Sarah noticed the pattern, patients crashing only after Dr. Husel's visits. The same patients who'd been alert that morning. The same patients whose families had just signed "do not resuscitate" orders. At Husel's suggestion, at first, she told herself she was imagining things. Then she started tracking it. Mr. Henderson, 68, recovering from surgery, dead 90 seconds after a comfort care injection. Mrs. Lozano, 52, stable with pneumonia, gone after Husel adjusted her meds. And always the same cocktail, fentanyl, midazolam, a one-way ticket to cardiac arrest. 4 months, Sarah stayed quiet. She knew what happened to whistleblowers, blacklisted, investigated, branded as troublemakers. But then came Mr. Rivera, a construction worker with a broken leg. No terminal illness. No DNR. Just Husel leaning over his 4-bag, smiling as the heart monitor screamed. It took 3 weeks for the hospital to suspend Husel. 6 months for the FBI to raid his home. And in that time, 17 more patients died under his care. Because predators count on silence. But Sarah? She chose to scream. The system wanted her to stay quiet. She refused. And because of that, 400 families finally got answers. The prosecution called it the largest serial killing case in U.S. history. The defense? End-of-life care. And in 2024, a jury had to decide, was this a monster, or just a doctor doing his job? Prosecutor, isn't 1,000 micrograms enough to kill a healthy adult? Pharmacologist, 20 times over. The evidence seemed irrefutable. Forged consent forms. Text messages about clearing beds. Even a spreadsheet tracking cost savings from deceased patients. But Husel's team had one argument that stuck: you can't prove he meant to kill them. Defense: Dr. Husel was treating pain in his medical judgment. Since when is that a crime? In the end, only 5 of 36 murder charges stuck. Not because the jury doubted the deaths, but because in American law, a doctor's intent is almost impossible to prove. Even when the math says 1 equals murder. 5 years. That's what 400 lives were worth. Because in this courtroom, the system protected its own, right to the very end. Behind every one of Dr. Husel's 400 victims was a system that not only allowed it to happen, but profited from it. Hospitals make money from live patients, but dead ones? They're cheaper. No long-term care. No costly treatments. Just a body bag and a quiet payout. For years, pharmacists flagged his outrageous fentanyl doses. Nurses begged for oversight. But executives buried every warning. Why? Because in America's broken healthcare system, death is a financial strategy. They told us she didn't respond to treatment. Later, we found out she was overdosed. And the hospital paid us $250,000 to stay silent. At least 27 families signed NDAs. Millions in hush money. No admissions of guilt. Just a corporation buying its way out of justice. I called the police, the medical board. Nobody cared until the bodies piled up. Even then, they blamed him but protected the system. Not a single executive was fired. Not one policy changed. The same loopholes let hospitals hide medical errors to this day. The math is simple. In America, if you kill as a doctor, it's malpractice. If you kill as a system, it's business as usual. 400 dead. 5-year sentence. Share if you demand justice. This story isn't over, because right now, hospitals are still hiding the truth. But you can change that, like this video right now. Every like pushes this story further, so the world can't ignore it. Subscribe, turn on notifications. We expose hidden crimes like this. Don't miss the next investigation. Comment justice below. Speak up for the victims. Algorithms boost videos with more comments. Tag someone who needs to see this. The more people know, the harder it is to hide.